You've read Transformed. Maybe you took a workshop with SVPG. You get the product operating model. You've seen what it does for teams that actually use it. And now you're the person inside your organization trying to convince everyone else. Maybe you're a VP making the case to your C-suite. Maybe you're a senior product manager trying to get your VP to champion it upward. Maybe you're a CPO who has leadership's ear, but not yet their full buy-in. Whoever you are, you're not short on conviction. You're short on the right argument. That's what this video is about. Hi there, I'm Joni Hoadley, Product Leadership Coach. This video was sparked by a recent episode of the Product Therapy podcast from SVPG. I'll link to it below. It's worth your time if you haven't listened to it. But what I want to talk about today is something I see product leaders get wrong when they're trying to sell this internally. They make it a debate about the new model, when it should be reckoning with the current one. Those are very different conversations. And which one you're in when you walk into that exec meeting determines whether you walk out with momentum or nothing at all. Here's what leadership is going to say. Not in these exact words, but this is what they mean. We can't afford to slow everything down right now. That's the real objection, not the financial cost, the operational cost, the fear that transformation means putting a pause on the entire company while you reorganize how product works. And here's the thing, they're not wrong. The transition to the product operating model does create friction. There is a period where things slow down before they speed up. That's real, and if you go into this conversation pretending it isn't, you'll lose credibility fast. So acknowledge it. One line, something like, yes, there's a transition cost. There always is when you're changing how a company builds. But let's talk about what it's already costing us when we stay where we are. That's the pivot. That's where you flip the script. Here's the number I want you to bring into that room. In his book, Transformed, Marty Kagan writes that in most companies today, the percentage of features and projects on product roadmaps that actually generate a positive return on investment is depressingly small. Most analysts put it somewhere between 10 and 30%. 10 to 30%. That means for every 10 things your team ships, somewhere between 7 and 9 of them are not moving the needle. They're not solving real customer problems. They're not driving revenue. They're consuming engineering time, burning through your team's capacity, and delivering nothing measurable back to the business. Now add that up across a quarter, across a year, across the roadmap your leadership just approved. That is not a transformation risk. That is the current cost of doing nothing. So how do you bring this into the conversation without it feeling like an attack? You translate it into language your leadership already cares about. Your CFO doesn't think in terms of product models. They think in terms of money in and out, so make it concrete. Engineering hours spent building features that got abandoned 6 months after launch. Customer churn from problems that went unsolved while the team was busy executing a stakeholder wish list. Revenue that never materialized because the roadmap was a delivery schedule dressed as a strategy. Raise your hand if you've seen that before. None of that shows up in a transformation budget, but it is happening right now in your org this quarter. The mistake most product leaders make in this conversation is trying to justify the new model, building the case for why the product operating model is better. That puts you on the defense. You're arguing for something unfamiliar against something comfortable. Stop defending the new thing. Start exposing what the current thing is already costing you. That's a fundamentally different conversation, and it's one your leadership team is much more likely to engage with because now you're speaking their language. Okay, when this works, when leadership actually gets it, here's what changes. The product organization stops being treated as a cost center and starts being treated as a growth driver. When you walk into an exec review, you're not defending a backlog, you're showing a direct line between what your team is building and what it's doing for the business. That's the difference between a product org that has to fight for resources every single planning cycle and one that's seen as essential to how the company grows. If you're in this fight right now, trying to get leadership buy-in for the product operating model, I want you to know that's exactly the kind of situation I work through with product leaders. Not in a theoretical way, in a here's how you walk into that meeting and come out the other side way. If that's useful, book a call with me and let's talk. The link is in the description below. We'll figure out your path to getting leadership on board. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to my channel. I make content specifically for product leaders who are trying to do this work at a high level. Links are below. See you in the next video.